Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is November the 19th, 2023. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I will say that I am down with the sickness a little bit. Looks like I got a cold. I feel like I officially can call it that now. But you know what? I'm counting my blessings because at least we can operate on this. You know what I mean? I'm not like in the house quarantined. It's not COVID. It's not the flu. So, we move. We're moving. And also, as of colds go, this isn't like as bad as some of the ones I've gotten in the past. I think like, and I said this before, maybe not so much on the podcast, but just to my friends, like colds are the things that actually wind up taking me out on like a season to season basis. When I was younger, I felt like I was getting a cold every season at least once, and then in the winter I get like maybe even two. So this is November right now. Like hopefully we're gonna be okay, and not gonna get too sick, and hopefully I get back to 100% soon. Willing. Let's see here. So outside of that, is there a food corner that I can report? Yes, actually, yes. I made some chili and rice, and I added some chicken tendies. I've been in a chicken mood, and cut up the chicken tenders a little bit, put them in the chili and rice, had some tortillas, and it was a nice little meal. I enjoyed it. It was pretty yummy. So yeah, there's that. That wraps up all the personal stuff. So yeah, let's go ahead and do my startup, and then we will get into some news. Also, excuse me if I'm, doing any coughing, sneezing, nose blowing. Y'all know I'm not the edit out type of person, so it is what it is. Sorry about it. All right. From the Associated Press, 32 babies in critical condition are among the patients left at Gaza's main hospital, UN team says. A United Nations team said Sunday that 291 patients were left at Gaza's largest hospital after Israeli troops had others evacuate. Those left included 32 babies in extremely critical condition, trauma patients with severely infected wounds, and others with spinal injuries who are unable to move. The team was able to tour Al-Shifa Hospital for an hour after about 2,500 displaced people, mobile patients, and medical staff left the sprawling compound Saturday morning, said the World Health Organization, which led the mission. Now it's kind of a little bit under debate about whether or not they've been just like they were allowed to leave or forced to leave. I think either way, it's still a grim situation to be fucking put in, no matter what. It's crazy that a fucking hospital, was bombarded, then surrounded by snipers, motherfuckers on artillery and shit. A whole tank runs through this fucking hospital because, quote unquote, Hamas is in there. Now, granted, I mean, they've gone through great lengths to prove it. All the underground tunnels, and we didn't find the Bat Cave, the Hamas Central HQ that they were touting up, but they sure as shit showed you as much as they could, as many little guns, as many little vests, all the kinds of things they could in this fucking hospital. So that's more or less where we're at there. I wouldn't say that it is a good place, but it seems that now the conversation is moving more towards the south, which is also a very unfortunate thing, even though like they said, hey, you guys have to leave the north. We had the Jambalia refugee camp. That situation has happened multiple times. They cover it again here because it's happened again. They just keep hitting up the refugee camp. I'm sorry. Of course, with the motive of we're looking for Hamas, we're trying to get rid of Hamas. But now also they are turning to Han Yunis, which is like a southern area. They are now, spreading leaflets, going on social media, telling people now you have to leave the South because we are going to now go to the South and take out Hamas. And it's like, dude, like, what do you expect people to do? You've had them uproot their whole lives and move south. All along the way, they were getting bombed. And then they get to the South, they're still getting fucking bombed. And you're saying, oh, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. But meanwhile, you fucking are. Now, they've moved here. They're here. They're crammed in these shelters. Some have even moved back and just said, fuck it, I'll take the risk, go back to the North. But now you're saying, no, you got to leave the South. And, there's some places we'll tell you where to go, and you can go there. But it's like, I mean, there are UN shelters getting hit here. So I just don't know how this is supposed to be, like, on the level. It just doesn't make sense. And meanwhile, you still have, a waffling, White House saying, like, oh, don't worry, we're definitely standing by Israel here, but we're not advocating anything bad. We're not pushing any ethnic cleansing or genocide. Oh, sure, no way. But meanwhile, we're still trying to get them as much money as we can, as much leaflet as we can. We are not advocating for a fucking ceasefire. Oh, no. I will say it's kind of in the wind that there might be like a big hostage exchange for like maybe up to like 5 days of a ceasefire, which would be something. But even so, Israeli top brass is saying, no, that's not a thing. We don't want to give Hamas even a second. We don't want to give them a second to regroup. So I don't fucking know. That's more or less where we're at. I mean, I know that every time I cover this shit, I still leave out so much shit because there's just so much happening, and I'm just a little guy. I'm just a small bean, but I do feel like there's just always an importance to just keep a spotlight on this shit. And we shouldn't hop off a fucking genocidal Joe's neck. Like, let me make that fucking clear and abundant. As well as all the motherfucking top press. I mean, I look at the people in Israel who have family that's been taken hostage, and they're like, yo, do something. Like, and by something, we do not mean just blow up a bunch of people. We like, and they also understand too, because they're getting the same kind of headlines that everyone else is when Hamas comes out and says, hey, look, you guys just bombed this area and there was like 50 hostages there and they're dead now. So it's like, they don't want that to be their person. They want to get their people out. And it's like crazy that people like Benjamin Netanyahu are like, yeah, that's a secondary thing for sure. We're definitely going to do it, but we have to eliminate Hamas. We have to stop Hamas right now. And it's like, motherfucker, you are definitely part of the reason Hamas is a thing. So yeah, that's where we're starting off. That's where we're kicking it off at. Feel free to read that article if you want to get all the guts up. Let's move on to another Associated Press piece. A man who killed 3 women and a teenager is found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, police say. A suspect in Tennessee died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound while on the run Sunday after a series of shootings that killed 4 people, all women, and seriously injured a 5th, police said. Officers found the body of Mavis Christian Jr., 52 years old, in his car during a manhunt following the shootings at 3 locations in Memphis that left 3 women and a teenage girl dead and critically wounded another teenage girl. The Memphis Police Department said in a statement. We are deeply saddened by the tragic and senseless shootings on Saturday, resulting in the deaths of 4 innocent family members and a 5th victim critically injured. Our statements and prayers go out to the victims and their loved ones as our community grieves more lives taken by domestic violence. So yeah, I mean, this is obviously yet again another sad story, another sad shooting, and yet again another sad, instance of domestic violence. It is, I feel like just a strong case point to really just show right here and now that this is still a fucking thing. Like, because we talked about it a week or so ago with the Supreme Court talking like, oh yeah, like, we obviously realize that domestic violence is bad and you shouldn't have, access to a firearm maybe, but like, maybe let's just like talk about this. Let's like make sure that we're not going too far here. But it's like, no, like there are so many times that you can just even go on the internet and you can just see just people saying, oh, well, I got this gun now I can just do whatever the fuck I want. I've seen people even go into like police stations with their gun out saying, hey, I'm going to handle shit right. And I can't imagine that, but at the same time, it's just a powerful feeling, I guess, owning a gun. And I think in this situation, Christian was like, oh, well, I'm a wronged party here and I'm going to get mine. And now you have this ability to just click and delete people. And, yeah, I mean, that's just such a dangerous fucking thing. It's just something that when I think about it, it freaks me out, man. Like, myself, my neighbor, anybody down the street, the guy I'm driving next to along the way, they just can do whatever the fuck they want if they have that kind of shit. You know what I mean? So it's a very powerful thing. It's very potentially devastating thing, and it's very sad here in the situation coming out of Tennessee. So I just wanted to talk about that, do some coverage. Let me see here. Let's go ahead and move along, though. From The Verge, OpenAI board in discussions with Sam Altman to return as CEO. Now, I believe, Friday he was sent packing. I think they said over like communication concerns. Currently, Mira Murati is the interim CEO of OpenAI. Now, what is OpenAI? We've talked about this a little bit, but they are the creator of ChatGPT. And if you don't know, you've been under a rock or, don't have a computer, you're probably like super happy, living really well and great for you. But yet you somehow found here. You got here. Awesome. Cool. ChatGPT, essentially, you can talk to it. It talks back to you. Like, you give it a query, it can do the query. It runs through a bunch of learned behavior, learned things on the internet, and then spits it back out at you. It's a pretty interesting fucking thing. Some people are like, oh, this is Skynet waiting to happen. But, I mean, yeah, it's been an ongoing project headed by Sam Altman. He is like a very key piece to this, you would thought. But yeah, as of this weekend, he's been sent packing. But it seems that they want him back. It was a misunderstanding. We didn't mean it, baby. Please. I don't fucking know. But the OpenAI board is in discussions with Sam Altman to return to the company as its CEO, according to multiple people familiar with the matter. One of them said Altman, who was suddenly fired by the board on Friday with no notice, is ambivalent about coming back and would want significant governing changes. Update as of 5:35 p.m. PT. A source close to Altman says the board had agreed in principle to resign and allow Altman and Brockman to return. Brockman is like a friend and another piece of the company. Essentially, he's board chairman. So they kind of both split and said, okay, well, we could just make our own startup since we're kind of like the face of literally AI right now. We could just do our own thing, poach some more people, and fuck it. Who needs fucking OpenAI? Fuck them. So that's where I think like this kind of like, oh, we need to fucking fix this damage control is kind of happening. But that being said, it doesn't look like the people up top are going to resign as of yet. So who knows? I'll definitely keep you posted there. But OpenAI's largest investor, Microsoft, said in a statement shortly after Altman's firing that the company remains committed to its partnership with the AI firm. However, OpenAI investors weren't given advance warning or opportunity to weigh in on the board's decision to remove Altman. As the face of the company and the most prominent voice in AI, his removal throws the future of OpenAI into uncertainty at a time when rivals are racing to catch up with the unprecedented rise of ChatGPT. Let's see here. OpenAI's current board consists of Chief Scientist Ayla Skutskever, Quora CEO Adam D'Angelo, former Geosim Systems CEO Tasha McCauley, and Helen Toner, the Director of Strategy of Georgetown Center of Security and Emerging Technology. Unlike traditional companies, the board isn't tasked with maximizing shareholder value, and none of them hold equity in OpenAI. Also, Altman didn't have any equity in OpenAI, so that's why it was so easy for him to get axed. It's like the main reason why you can't get rid of Mark Zuckerberg, because he's like intrinsically tied to the company in a way that you cannot fiscally divide him. Whereas Altman's just like, he's just a guy. He just can. But yeah, I mean, there's also been some other accusations, things that are launched that people are maybe saying, oh, maybe that's the reason why the board let him go. I don't really want to cover any of that yet until it's more fleshed out, seemingly more real, less online Twitter shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, we'll see how this shakes out. It's definitely a big shake up, that's for sure. But also at the same time, I kind of don't care about ChatGPT. I used it one time, played around with it for about like 10 minutes, and then I was like, this is cool and all, but like, unless you're like a college student, unless you have like kind of some kind of pet thing that you want to put, like project you want to put the ChatGPT on, I don't really see like a use of it. And even then, it's like that can potentially get you into trouble. And or it's also hacky. Like whenever you kind of use the material, and it gets better and better. I will say that, like, they keep upgrading and updating the model. But like, I don't know. When I used it, it definitely felt like a clunky thing. It felt like more of a little pet nuance more than anything other than like, I don't know, revolutionary technology. But definitely, I mean, machine learning, AI is definitely on the rise. I know you see places fighting with it and then also scrambling to work with it and use it and make their own versions of it. It's very interesting times we find ourselves in. And, time will tell. Maybe we are in a Skynet situation. I personally would not mind. My name is not John Connor, so, like, I'm cool. Like, whatever. But, yeah, man. The robots are taking over, man. I don't know. All right, we have one more thing to cover before I let you go. So you know what that means. I'm going to take my break. And we're going to keep it tech. We're staying in the tech sphere. We're doing nerd shit right now, okay? Ooh. Okay. So this is from Ars Technica. Ransomware group reports victim it breached to SEC regulators. So this was a little cheeky move by some hackers. One of the world's most active ransomware groups has taken an unusual, if not unprecedented, tactic to pressure one of its victims to pay up, reporting the victim to its U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The pressure tactic came to light in a post published on Wednesday on the dark website run by AlphV, a ransomware crime syndicate that's been in operation for 2 years. After claiming to have breached the network of the publicly traded digital lending company MeridianLink, AlphV officials posted a screenshot of a complaint it said it filed with the SEC through the agency's website under a recently adopted rule that goes into effect next month. Publicly traded companies must file an SEC disclosure within 4 days of learning of a security incident that had material impact on their business. So I won't, I'll spare you the mumbo jumbo of the ruling or whatever. And honestly, I don't think anything's going to happen to MeridianLink for this. It's not in effect yet, and not to mention they are victims of a cyber crime, a cyber attack. So at the end of the day, they're still going to be looking for AlphV and saying like, what the fuck? Like, you guys are on the hook for this. But I will say that that's relevant. Like, they didn't mention this. They just let that shit slide and just handled it on the low. That's something that is very relevant at the end of the day. Like, if you're a shareholder, if this is like a thing where like customers come and interact with it, then it's like, hey, you're telling me my information or something like my money, what have you, is potentially compromised. Like, you should have the right, you would think, to know about that, like, and then to act accordingly. To deprive that of you, it seems criminal. Seems like something that would be very bad. But obviously for AlphV, they're using, and I believe it's like Black Cat is the ransomware they're using. But and also, if there's like a hacking scale, we've talked about Lockbit and their ransomware or whatever. They're like number one. I think like AlphV is like under them. But that being said, they both do big shit. And AlphV was like, hey, man, they aren't reporting this shit. We're letting you know. You should do something about that with your new fucking rule coming up. It's definitely a good way to say, hey, man, fucking pay up, man. You owe us some money, man. But, yeah, I mean, obviously this isn't me, like, advocating hacking or anything like that, any kind of, like, cyber criminal activity. But, yeah, it was definitely super interesting, a very like I said, cheeky ass fucking move by AlphV to say, hey, we're going to actually report you for not reporting our crime. Like, this is such a hacker thing, dude. Like, you know, they like fucking clickety clackety with their fucking sunglasses on. It was like, yeah, dude, this is gonna hit so fucking hard. Send. I don't know. All right, that more or less wraps it up. We'll call it for that today. Yeah, cool. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye bye. Mwah.